Hi guys, it's Oscrix. Today I wanted to make a video talking about Minion Instability, which is a support gem that causes your minions to explode for fire damage when they reach low life. What you're seeing on screen is an interaction between Minion Instability and weapon swapping, which creates a chain reaction as you run and does a lot of damage by itself. To do this interaction, you need to get negative fire resistance, then you need to give your minions the negative fire resistance you have by wearing the Carry On Call unique item, which sets your minions' resistance equal to yours. Then you need to give your minions Infernal Legion, and you need to give them Last Gasp. So Infernal Legion kills them quickly, and having negative fire res makes them die really fast. Feeding Frenzy also increases the damage that they take. And then Last Gasp makes it so when they actually die, they have a 4-second window in which you can weapon swap and weapon swap back, and they come back to life like they never died. So you can create this chain reaction explosion. This does a ton of damage single target. The footage right now that you're watching has 4 points on the passive tree into damage. A grand total of, I think, 48% increased damage on my entire passive tree. So you could easily get, upwards of 200, and minion life also scales this as well. So no minion life either on the passive tree. And this footage right here you're going to see of the max difficulty Zesht is the same way, only those 4 passive points into damage. Insane damage, crazy broken build, not hardcore viable at all because you have negative resist. But let's get right into it, and I'll talk a little bit more in detail about what's going on here. So let's start off by talking about the negative fire resist, which is what is necessary to make this build work. You have to have around negative 80 fire resist is the sweet spot, and the best way to get there is with a Ventors Gamble. You start out with negative 60, so you only need a Ventors Gamble with about negative 20 fire resist. I have a little more on this one, negative 39, but I also have a little bit of all res on this, so it ends up being about 80. And when you have about negative 80 fire resist, you can see that the resulting effect is this chain reaction explosion that you saw earlier. And without that, if I take this off and I have a negative 40, you see that they do not explode. They don't die fast enough while you're weapon swap spamming for them to actually explode. So you need to get about negative 80 fire resistance is the sweet spot. And that makes it so that your character dies really quick to every kind of type of fire damage in the game. Damage over time and hit. So the first thing you want to do is mitigate the damage over time, because that's actually the most lethal one. Immune to Ignite from Pathfinder is one thing that I chose to do here to mitigate that. Ignite is the most common source of damage over time that's fire in the game, so eliminating that is really nice. And the other thing I've done, because there's other sources of damage over time that's fire that are not Ignite, I've taken Heartstopper. So within the first second of taking fire damage over time, you take 50% less damage from it. The most common source of fire damage over time in maps is Scorching Ray Beams from monsters, the ones from the Arostus Twilight Order tile set and the ones from the Kopek tile set. So this helps a lot against those. You're constantly moving on this build, so you're not going to be standing in those beams for over a second. So most of the time, this is just going to be 50% less damage over time from the effects that would kill you, and it'll save you a lot from that. And I've chosen Pathfinder on this build because of the proximity to Heartstopper, the immunity to Ignite, but you could also get immunity to Ignite on other builds by using crystallized immunities. This is a very expensive thing to instill, to say the least. But you can get immune to Ignite if your majority of your socketed support gems are red, and you have plenty of room to just throw in random gems and random support gems to get this, as long as you have enough strength to fulfill it, of course. So you could get Immunity Ignite on something like Lich or Infernalist in this way, and that would be nice. And then mitigating the damage from fire hits. There's a couple things that you can do to do this. One really good looking thing is Rat Cage Body Armor, which makes it so 100% of your fire damage from hits is taken against physical. But when I plugged it all into Path of Building and looked at my max hit, it turns out that just getting Energy Shield Body Armor with 1000 Energy Shield is actually tankier than wearing a Rat Cage against fire damage. You can tank more hits and larger hits that are fire. So it seems like stacking Energy Shield and just ignoring the fact that you have negative fire resist is better than doing a lot of the stuff that you could do, like Rat Cage or Armor Against Elemental. So that's what I did here. I just got as much ES on the tree as possible and stacked it with good ES gear equipped on my character. And you could forego a lot of this defense and say, you know what, I'd rather have like 8k ES and just randomly die to fire all the time and do a shitload more damage, or have more movement speed, or whatever else you want on the tree. Like I said earlier, you don't need damage on the tree to play this, so you can go full in on defense or full in on movement speed or whatever you want to do on your character. But in this case, I chose to get a lot of energy shield on the tree by pathing up here and taking basically every ES and evasion ES point I could get. Another nice thing that you get from Pathfinder and being down here is Subterfuge Mask, which gives you evasion per ES on helmet. I've got a 547 ES helmet, and that results. This is the only source of my evasion, and I have 35% evasion from that. I have 6,630 evasion after all of my bonuses from the helmet in this node. Very insane to get that amount of evasion, for estimated evasion, I should say, for just 3 points here that you already kind of want to take. So that's basically how my character is built. I'll go through the gear real quick, but it's pretty generic minion stuff. High ES helmet with minion skills, the scepter with minion skills and minion life and minion damage, and a lot of spirit. I've got an amulet with minion skills and spirit, and some ES stuff. I've got the carry-on call, which is required to set your minions' resist equal to yours with the negative resist. The ventors, as I mentioned, which has spirit and fulfills the negative requirement. I've just got a random generic resist ring on right now, but you could do anything else in this slot. I've got more ES gear for my gloves, more ES gear for my boots, and I've got a darkness enthroned with faster start of energy shield recharge, and it's corrupted also to have max ES, but you could put anything in this slot. You could wear a Shav satchel, you could wear a darkness enthroned with boots and put Farrell's Runes of the Chase in it, so you're a lot faster. Yeah, there's so much room to flex with this kind of build concept. I think that there could be a lot of potential for Lich, Infernalist, Titan, and Gemling. I think all make a lot of sense doing this. So I encourage you guys to go out, and if you're interested in playing with this concept, go for it. If you want to play on another character, go for it. But keep in mind, like I said, the fire resistance is going to make you really squishy, so you probably want to try and do something to mitigate constantly dying to fire damage. From my experience playing on this Pathfinder version of the build, it definitely seems tanky enough to map in softcore. You only very rarely die to fire damage. You can tank some pretty significant hits because you have such a big ES pool, but you definitely have a very high chance of randomly dying. So not softcore viable, or not hardcore viable, I mean, at all. Very viable in softcore, though. And you can scale the damage up tremendously from this if you choose to forego some of the energy shield or movement speed or whatever else, and take minion damage and minion life on the tree, of which I only have these points, and I also ended up taking these 2 points because I leveled up a little bit more. And yeah, I think that's about all I really have to say about the character. I think it's not really as good, like, fundamentally as my previous character, but it has a way higher single target DPS ceiling. Way higher single target DPS ceiling than my previous character. So if you're interested in making something that's a real glass cannon that blows up a boss and taking all the minion damage and minion life nodes on the tree, I think this is a really good thing for that. And I didn't make that build or concept, but, you know, I encourage you guys, like I said earlier, go out and try it out. As far as skills, I think it's nice also to have Blasphemy with Temporal Chains just to slow everything around you. It just helps you be a lot more tanky while mapping, get hit a lot less. And you could also use Frost Bomb with Potent Exposure to apply exposure to enemies. And you can also use Elemental Weakness with Whispers of Doom to reduce the elemental resistance of targets more. But that's about all the skills that you really need to use. You can incorporate a lot of other things in here, like I said. This video is mostly just supposed to be a display of this concept. Oh, I forgot to mention earlier that you need to set up your specters in a very specific way for this interaction to work. The thing that you have to do is similar to what you do in my previous weapon swap build, but for everyone who's not familiar, you need to max your spirit out on your first weapon set. The way I do this is by having a different bogfelled commoner. And on the bogfelled commoner, the specter I'm using in this build, there's going to be a video in the description that shows where you can get it and which ones to get. And I might also have a couple other videos about that stuff in the description, so make sure you check out the description. The first thing you need to do to set up your specters is max your spirit in weapon set 1. So you can see here I have bogfelled commoner in weapon set 1. It's a different kind than the one that I used to explode, but they both have the same health. So I'm going to max this out by pressing this button to make it so 6 are on only my weapon set 1 and not on my weapon set 2. And you can see that I have 21 spirit remaining, which is perfect. You want to get it below like 50 or 60. And then you weapon swap to your second set. And then your bogfelled commoners that are supposed to explode with minion instability, you press this button to max them out. And this makes it so they're maxed on both sets. And this makes it so when you spam weapon swap, you get the behavior that you saw on screen. They linger for a bit, and that allows them to explode between weapon swaps and allows you to continually generate more. So make sure you set them up like that, or else this interaction won't work at all. And this interaction is very likely to be removed from the game next patch, so I recommend that if you're interested in trying this out, go for it now. And yeah, I think that's about everything that I wanted to talk about. Hopefully, I didn't miss anything else, but make sure you check the description for more information and videos and all that stuff. Thanks, guys.